Hey gang, welcome to the Meddling Kids Podcast, a review of all things Scooby-Doo. I'm Stephen Pappas, and I am terrified by what I just watched.
I'm Julie Kidd, and today we are talking about the Backstage Rage, the 9th episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And it was not terrifying unless you're an overgrown man-child like Stephen who's afraid of dolls.
I hated it. I hated it so much. So much. There's a lot of all caps writing in my notes. And I mean writing with my hand. I was literally writing in all caps. Yeah, so
your notebook was like, why are you yelling at me?
Excited.
So this episode is all about how nothing is as it seems. Mwahahaha.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. Stephen. So another peek behind the curtain for our listeners. So we are recording 2 episodes at once, and Stephen had to watch this episode and then an episode featuring a delightful clown after this, which is our next one. And I just want to let you know, Stephen, I was tempted to offer to you that like you didn't have to watch these and I could just tell you the story of them. But then I decided, no, why should I suffer alone? Let Stephen join in.
No, it was great. I really liked it.
Okay, let's start with the Backstage Rage. So, kids, this one was pretty funky because who doesn't love marionettes and puppets and life
Me,
size?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, aside from Stephen. So, let's just start with Shaggy and Scooby walking at night, of course, while walking. They're walking, and they're carrying a big pizza, and they're whistling so that it doesn't feel too spooky, like you do. But the aroma of the pizza is just driving them crazy, so they decide to stop in the middle of the spooky road to start eating.
I mean, yeah. I would have, because in this moment watching it, I was like, God, I want pizza.
Yeah,
right?
right?
Pizza so bad. Because I've been eating like better and like running. And so like in that moment, I was like, I don't know what's worse. Like knowing that there's a puppet coming or that like I don't have pizza on my lap right now.
Well, and also when you know something scary is gonna happen, you got to get the food in first, right? Like, you know you're not going to want to eat while watching a scary puppet. So Shaggy shows off a really cool skill. He can spin a pizza. Not only is he an expert gymnast, he can spin a pizza on his finger, and then Scooby kind of like chomps at it while it's moving around his finger. It's really cute. And there's just like a little bit left. Okay, so I think we're back in downtown Athens, Georgia now, because they're like walking by storefronts, which mysteriously seem to be repeating storefronts because of course they use the same animation over and over. So I think that probably happens in Athens, right?
Yes.
I
mean, all the storefronts. There are 4 stores in Athens.
And they just
actually,
repeat.
If you're walking downtown. Yeah, and they just back and forth.
Perfect. Isn't that one of the cities where like every business downtown has to be an independent business or something? Like there's no chains?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's how Boone is, where I went to college.
Oh.
Like, it's the same way. It's just like it's all little storefronts, like downtown. Now, like the rest of it's like, hey, here's McDonald's.
Right.
But like the downtown area is all like independent storefronts and stuff. And sometimes it does feel like you're walking by the same store like 8 times.
Your mustache emporiums and what have yous. Okay.
No, it's less hipster than that. It's more hiking gear.
Oh,
emporiums.
okay, fair. Yeah. Okay, so we see a large sedan with a silhouetted figure driving, and it looks like it's wearing a large floppy hat. So I'm immediately thinking like stereotypical pimp here. But
sure.
No? Okay, well, anyway,
that's
probably not what they were going for, especially back in the 60s on the Scooby-Doo show. Okay, but then a violin case falls out of the trunk. You are shaking your head no because you didn't know immediately it was a violin case. Did you assume it was weapons?
No, I saw it was a violin case. I'm just shaking my head because I know what's coming.
Oh, okay.
I'm just living the horror. And also the stupidity of Shaggy and Scooby because of what happens next.
Well, Shaggy and Scooby go and grab the violin case, and it's like super heavy. So I'm thinking, oh, definitely weapons now, because it's definitely heavier than a violin or maybe viola. But inside is lots of dollar cash paper money. That shouldn't actually be that heavy, but
dollar cash paper money. That's what I'm going to start calling it. No, but did you have the same thought I had in this moment, which is, okay, Shaggy's like, what do we do? And I'm like, you take the money and you run.
What? Oh, no, don't tell that to our meddling kids. You take it to the police station and turn it in. Or put up flyers. Who lost cash money dollars.
No, you take that violin case and you go on a nice vacation because it was all 20s, which especially even now, but especially in the 60s. I mean, come on now.
It's true. Hard to trace. Well, Scooby guards this violin case full of cash money while Shaggy goes to phone the gang. So, Stephen, have you ever used a payphone? I know you were born like 2 years ago or something.
All right. Yes, I have used a payphone. I've never actually used a phone booth. I will say that. But I've used payphones that were like payphone banks, like when they would have like lines of payphones together, like on the outside of a grocery store or something. Like I've used payphones before,
but never the phone booth. Those are pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually. I wouldn't have liked it though, because I'm claustrophobic. What you'll learn literally over the course of this show, listeners, is I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of puppets this time. I'm afraid of clowns next time. And just based on the title of episode 11, I think I'm going to be scared of that one too. So we'll get to it.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was just curious when I saw this. I was like, oh, does Stephen know what that ringing metal thing is?
Yes,
just
I
kidding.
do.
Okay. So anyway, while Shaggy's in the phone booth, there's a dude in the car watching Shaggy. And it's like that movie, that title, I can't remember. I think it's called Phone Booth Watcher, where there's a dude who calls a dude in a phone booth and says, I'm going to kill you unless you do some other things.
It's just phone booth.
Oh, is
phone
it? I
booth
never actually
watcher
saw it.
Sounds. I think that's the comedy spoof version.
That's the name of my next album. Okay, so anyway, it's pretty creepy to see like some dude in a car watching this teenager. Anyway, Scooby is super cute. He's whistling to pass the time, and his tail's keeping time with the whistles when, oh no, a super hot white poodle. Oh no, not white. She's pink, isn't she? Or no, lavender
white.
fur. She was white. Okay. So anyway, but she does have a matching pink bow and collar. And in this series, when you see a poodle, you know, hot to trot. That is dog code for like above your touch, meaning like that's definitely, okay, so not hot to trot, like too hot to touch, I guess, is how poodles are in the Scooby series. Am I wrong there? I mean, like in the ring.
Deep-seated like love things for dogs that like I do not like. You keep referring to the dog as like hot and attractive, and like you do you, but it's scary sometimes.
Okay, there's a difference between having thoughts and taking actions on those thoughts. Let me just put that out there. Okay, but Scooby feels similarly. He is really excited. And he goes, and she's like hanging out near this car where the dude is watching Shaggy, presumably. So Scooby's like, hello, nurse, and like runs up to her, and he is really concerned about this like prime woofer. So he goes up to her, and she whines a bit, and it's clear that like her foot is hurt. One paw is up. It's like, and also, may I mention now that Scooby's close up, he sees she has huge, long eyelashes. And they are like blink, blink. Very, very blinky. And I'm wondering, how hard would it be to put false eyelashes on a dog? Because I'm thinking near impossible.
Oh, yeah.
Which we find out is true, because as he goes over to help his damsel in distress, someone takes the violin case that he was supposed to be guarding, and then we see the dog float up in the air, and yeah.
Have you never seen that?
I've never seen that. I have in all caps, that witch. She was part of the ruse. Scooby was catfished. So, poodles, right? Am I right? Thank you.
Oh,
okay.
Gosh.
Anyway, Scooby was so chivalrous to try to help. He goes and runs to tell the gang about the pantomime, and they're like, a dog with big eyelashes? And so apparently that was like the essential comment.
Why in this moment, or why is he playing charades? Because they've made it clear that like
he can talk.
He can talk. And they all talk to him at different points. So why is he just like, all right, well, now I'm going to act it out? Like, I was just curious, like, I mean, I know it's for the gag,
No, it's because he's smarter than them. And he's like, okay, they don't understand my language well enough. I need to
bringing it down to their level.
I need to use as many forms of communication and media as possible. If they had smartphones back then, he would just be typing in one of those billboard apps where you can like type notes to your friends and show it to them on your phone.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, there is a moment later on in the show where I literally think Fred had a moment where I was shocked at how stupid what he did was. Like, I was just like, oh no. Oh, you're all very dumb.
Yeah.
So maybe Scooby is the smartest.
It's possible. Turned off my video to make our connection a little bit better. See if that helps.
That's okay. I'm just going to let you look at me.
Okay, hi. So anyway, they are looking around for clues. And because this is weird now, I will admit, sometimes in these episodes, I'm like, why are they investigating when nothing weird has happened? This is weird. Floating dog, violin case full of cash. The kids find some wood and strings, and I would have thought, oh, there's just trash on the side of the road because Athens, but we know it has something to do with puppetry based on the title of the show, of course. So Daphne says it's a puppet control, which I meant to Google to see what do you actually call a marionette's puppet control, because that sounds fake, Daphne. But then Fred notices that on the top it says Pietro's puppets on the wood.
Is there a name for the puppet control? Did you figure it out? Is it just called a marionette?
I haven't looked it up yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm sure that it's got to have some Italian name.
Sure.
Not puppet control. Sure. And so, yeah, my Google search history does not have what do you call a wooden puppet control yet.
But mine is about to.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for looking into that. So, by the way, for the record, if you're a villain and you're about to do some shenanigans, don't leave your marionette's puppet control on the ground, and also don't write your name on it, because spoiler alert, at the end we find out that Pietro is probably the bad guy. Anyway, Scooby, not Scoopy. Scoopy is the puppet version of Scooby. Scooby notices that the other dog was a puppet, or he thinks the other dog was probably a puppet, and the gang thinks that this all equals counterfeiting, because why else would someone have a puppet and a violin case full of cash?
Which I gotta say, they all seem like legitimately smarter this episode of like, oh, they're actually putting two and two together pretty quickly here of like, oh, counterfeiting.
And they say it in unison. So like they all got to this conclusion at the same time.
Yeah, after they found the what is simply called a marionette control bar.
Thank you.
That is there are many types, by the way. There's the Chinese Asian paddle control, there's the horizontal control, and the vertical control. My wife just took a class on puppetry, so I could ask her when she gets home.
Oh my gosh, she could have watched this episode and been our subject matter expert.
Oh, she had to make a puppet for it, and there's a terrifying marionette in my closet, and every time I walk in to change my clothes, I panic.
That is wrong. That's no good.
It's paper mache, and it stares at me even though it has no face.
Pictures, please. On Facebook, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make her take them.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks, Katie. All right, so the kids are in the mystery machine, and they need to figure out how to get into... They know that Pietro's Puppets has a studio, apparently. They want to get in there, and instead of just, like, going and knocking on the door and being customers, they want to come up with a real good reason. So their plan is to have a fake trained dog act. And in my notes, I've got, this is going to be good. So, because they do have a good dog who can do lots of cool stuff. It's about time we got to see Scooby get the recognition he deserves. Anyway, so at the theater, they see an old dude working a marionette. This old dude, they call for the rest of the episode the doorman, because I guess he was in the entryway or vestibule. I mean, it just looked like he was in a break room at a table playing with a marionette. You're shaking your head.
I immediately wrote down, it's totally this puppet creep. Like, because it's gotta be. Like, because it's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life, of just this tiny old man playing with this tiny puppet. And then he's like, well, hey, this is Johnny. And I immediately wrote down, I hate Johnny. God, I hate Johnny.
Johnny is like the prototypical, I guess, like when you think of spooky, weird-looking marionette.
He looks like the marionette from Goosebumps for anybody who's like a 80s, 90s kid.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. Those were way too scary for me.
That's fair.
I avoided them. So Scooby and the old dude looks. I don't think we ever learn his name until the very end. Again, no spoiler. He just looks like your Eastern European old man kind of guy. Anyway, Scooby shows off for this puppeteer and shows his cool little tricks. And the puppet says no unless he's a puppet. So, in other words, the puppet rejects Scooby, even though the puppeteer is, like, clearly impressed.
And I immediately had, like, a terrifying horror movie script, like, in my mind of just, like, oh, my God, they're going to convert Scooby into a puppet. Because I'm pretty sure there's an entire, like, horror movie out there called Dead Silence. In fact, I know it is, where, like, surprise twist ending for a movie that came out 10 years ago. Sorry. Like, one of the characters has been a puppet the whole time, controlled, like, a human puppet controlled by somebody.
Did you like Being John Malkovich?
I don't think I've actually seen Being John Malkovich.
It might have been made before you were born.
No, it wasn't. I was alive. It was just, I haven't seen it. I've heard it's great.
It's pretty good, but you might need to, like, take a sedative beforehand or something.
Okay, noted. Writing that down. No Malkovich for Steven.
It's disturbing on many levels, but also fantastic. Anyway, okay. So Scooby sniffs around the other puppets because, of course, during exposition, Scooby goes off and does his cool things.
Right.
One of the puppets twitches, and Scooby, like, freaks out because puppets are freaky. Yeah. Another reason why Steven and Scooby share a lot in common.
Yeah, we do.
So right behind Shaggy is a $20 bill. Fred says, quick, hide it. What? No, that's not what
dibs.
You do, children. It doesn't count as dibs when you're in private property and you see cash money dollars.
I mean, I talk big, but, like, I was at a Barnes & Noble the other day, and there were $3 on the floor, and I walked and took it to customer service. Like, I could have taken the $3, like, but I didn't. Like, I was just like, here you go, madam. If anyone comes looking for their $3. And she just looked at me like, who are you? Why don't you take $3 and buy, like, half of a Starbucks?
But yeah, in my mind, I'd be like, but there's probably some 6-year-old someplace who they've been saving this up for months, and it's really important.
I will say in college, I found a $100 bill on the ground, and I was like, mindsies.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Starving college student. I get it. All right, so Fred is like, oh, now that we've got this 20, we gotta go. Let's get out of here quick to leave with the booty. Velma's all upset that they had to leave early, but then she looks at the bill because they explain, no, we had to get out of there because, look, we found a 20 and we had to steal it real fast. And Velma says, hey, that's not a counterfeit bill. That is genuine. And she pronounces it that way. Oh, and by the way, we now learn she is an expert on counterfeit money.
Can I just say, them trying to leave made me so uncomfortable because they were just like, he's like, why do you have to leave? And they could not come up with an excuse. And I'm just like, in that moment, you've got a million excuses. All you have to do is be like, I have diarrhea, bye, and just, like, run out.
Right.
Like, all you have to do.
Yes, diarrhea is always a good excuse
Yes.
for many, many, many activities you would like to get out of.
Yes.
Including talking to a weird puppet man. Anyway, they are leaving and they're talking about, well, then why was this $20 bill just there if it's not counterfeit? Because this doesn't fit into our theory. Okay, hello, confirmation bias researchers, right? Maybe your theory was wrong, but they decide, or Fred thinks, that 20 was planted to throw us off. And the other kids are like, Fred, that's really dumb. And Fred says, no, this was to make us think that nothing fishy was going on. Now we go back.
Sure.
What? No, not sure. No, Steven, don't allow them to get away with this kind of behavior.
Oh, no,
okay.
I'm just not shocked anymore.
Yeah, okay, fair. We're going to get back to that at the end of this episode with our listener questions. All right, so because they found a real 20, they have to go break and enter. So what would it be without a little bit of B&E here?
Of course.
Okay, so at night, the doorman is still there in the same exact position, and he's asleep. So they break in, of course.
With Johnny in his lap.
with Johnny in his lap. And Johnny's asleep too. His eyes are closed. Their kids are being super stealthy, except Scooby accidentally knocks over a hat and...
No. I literally just wrote, nope, 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 nope. That's what I wrote.
It wakes up the puppet.
Not the man, the puppet.
The man,
Johnny's eye opens and he just like creepily looks at them like every puppet does when you're not looking.
With one eye open. It was horrifying, kids. Okay, Fred wants them to investigate. No one sees this. So Fred wants them to investigate the stage for clues. So a life-size puppet goes up into the air, but the kids don't see this. So we're assuming it's like a marionette on strings, and it's been pulled into the stage rafters, whatever those are called. It's out of sight right when Shaggy looks behind a door. And Fred is like super serious about this. I think he's really excited to be looking for counterfeiters. Shaggy and Scooby totally get in trouble with Fred because they're being too silly. Which, Fred, why did you bring them along if that's the kind of vibe you're going to have, right?
I mean, I understand. I get in trouble a lot for being too silly.
And I guess I'm a parent, so I make other people in trouble when they are too silly. But,
sorry.
Okay. That's all right. Okay, so we see a dude, and maybe it's the life-size puppet from earlier who flew into the air, but it's really hard to tell. Anyway, he's watching Shaggy and Scooby, and it's like causing mayhem. Like it's, I don't know, sawing apart ropes that are holding things up and stuff like that. And it makes, I
need you to know something. I have to make a confession.
So
I spent a lot of the remainder of my notes making a theory that this is where Andrew Lloyd Webber came up with the idea for Phantom of the Opera, not even beginning to think about the fact that it was probably based on the 1909 book by Gaston Leroux, Phantom of the Opera.
No, that's a coincidence. That's totally a coincidence.
Or the 1928 movie Phantom of the Opera. But I was like, no, Phantom of the Opera musical, all based on this Scooby-Doo episode. And so a lot of my notes revolve around that, where I'm like, literally, that sandbag just fell, and that happens in Phantom. And then I was like, or I'm just dumb.
No. I think your idea has merit. I think that in those other ones, they spelled Phantom with an F, not a PH. And,
did they?
No, I'm making it up to make you feel better, but it's okay. Let's go with your theory. That's okay. All right. It's your podcast, Steven. You can put out theories. We'll just ignore the haters online later, all right? When they point out all the data that is to the contrary. I do think that this episode took a lot from Phantom and that it's kind of vice versa. But let's continue with your theory. Let's use that as our working assumption.
Okay.
So we see the wooden stage set fall over, but Shaggy's body kind of went through a window in the stage set, so he's not hurt. Again, much like the later artwork Phantom of the Opera, where he doesn't actually hurt people, he's just kind of spooky.
What I will say,
it's been a long
time since
I've seen it.
He does hang a man to death.
Oh, does that happen?
And he falls from the rafters and hangs on the stage. So yeah, he does hurt people.
That probably did hurt.
He does attempt to kill Raoul at the end during what is one of the best climaxes in musical theater ever.
Yeah, that does sound painful.
Yeah, he's a little violent.
I forgot about those things. Okay, well, clearly Andrew Lloyd Webber built upon what the Scooby-Doo had done. Okay, so anyway, Shaggy blames Scooby because he thinks Scooby did this, not the other thing. And then, another set falls down and scares Scooby. And Daphne and Velma are nearly killed by a sandbag, which clearly Andrew Lloyd Webber stole later. And now they know that a villain is about. And so before this, remember, all they had was a violin case full of cash and a dog who refused Scooby's advances and stealing a 20. Up until now, nothing really criminal had happened because it's not against the law to lose a violin case full of money. It's weird, but not illegal. But now they're like, oh yeah, something bad's going on. And kids, we'll find out what happens after this break.
Welcome to Film Roast.
Hey everyone, Hannah here, the co-host of Film Roast, where two overcaffeinated and underqualified friends talk about all things movies. If you like film factoids, lots of sarcasm, and bad impressions, check us out on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. You can also follow us on Twitter @FilmRoastShow and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/FilmRoast. Happy roasting!
Steven, I just want to check in with you. How you doing? How's your heart rate right now?
Elevated,
Okay.
but I'm good. I'm good.
Do you have a SUDS rating? That's like your subjective distress level?
1 out of 10.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm on like a 5. Like I'm right
Oh,
in
okay.
range. Like I'm
Good,
okay
good,
now. The Johnny's eye was the thing that I had to get past. The rest of it is
Okay.
also terrifying, and there's something that is going to boost me up to about a 73. But until that happens, I'm not worried about it.
Okay, fair. All right. I have a quick question for you. Have you ever worn a cape? Were you one of those guys?
Well,
Do you own a cape? Wait, do you wear a cape currently?
no.
Are you in a cape right now?
I am not. I am wearing a Batman tank top. Does that count? I can like
didn't-
flip it around and like wear it like a cape.
I only see you from the neck up, so I didn't know if maybe you were wearing a cape and a
Oh.
Batman onesie or something.
No, I've never worn a real cape outside of like costumes when we did
Okay.
like shows like in high school and stuff, or just tying things around me as a child and running around the yard. I was that kid. Like I always wanted to be Batman.
Yeah, those are good fashion choices. I'm glad to hear that you were not. I mean, to our listeners out there who wear capes currently, you go for it and be you. And many of us tried to wear capes as, adolescents unsuccessfully, I'm
Are
guessing.
you speaking from experience?
No? Yeah.
That was, I think you doth protest too much.
Okay, so Shaggy and Scooby are looking in a dressing room, and now we see the villain better. He's wearing a black footsie onesie, and if you know that, those are like footy jammies, but like tighter, I guess. Anyway, and lavender gloves, and he's wearing a cape, which is why I asked about that, but it's lined in red, and the cape is kind of bluish, and he has purple skin and yellow eyes.
And he's singing Music of the Night.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so clearly there's some copyright
Yes.
infringement going on with Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yes, on his part, not
On
the
his
Scooby.
part. No, not on
his
Scooby's part.
Right,
Scooby's in the right.
Yeah, and I'm curious about why our villains always have yellow eyes and purple skin. The purple skin thing is a real common thing, and I'm wondering if that's just like in color animation, if that's supposed to represent gray, because if you actually made things gray, it would be ugly to look at.
Aren't yellow eyes a symptom of like scurvy?
Jaundice.
Is it jaundice?
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe those are the same thing. But the purple skin, yeah. Anyway, okay. So Scooby finds an odd box. He looks inside. Scooby, don't look inside weird boxes in a puppeteer's place, because inside is a scary Jack in the Box. Ah! Okay, but then it's really cute that Shaggy comforts him and like holds a little Scooby who's like, "Ow, ow, ow."
There was a
They-
lot
they
of
re-
that in this episode.
Yeah,
And
I
I
kinda
just
felt
wanted
like I
Shaggy
needed
to
some.
do that to me.
Yeah, that's exactly. I needed someone to hold me while watching this. Okay, so now they're searching through the costumes and weird masks, and Shaggy's dressing up in costumes and then tries on a cloak to look just like the dude who's following them, although he doesn't really realize it. And now Scooby sees the real villain, and he's confused because, there's Shaggy dressed up in this way and then the villain dressed up in this way. So Shaggy doesn't quite understand why Scooby's concerned, so Scooby has to pantomime again to help him get it. And they both run away once Shaggy realizes, oh, danger is afoot.
Now, is this when the other gang is on the stage?
Yes,
Okay.
Velma
Yeah, I have
and
thoughts about
Daphne are snooping around the stage. Yeah, did you want to?
Oh, well, I'll let you say what
Okay.
happens if you're going to refer to that little box area that they see the villain in.
Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
I think I'm going to. Let me go. Oh, no, I'm not going to. Poor listeners. Thanks for hanging in there with us, guys.
There's like,
okay,
what's
so
happening?
Yeah, okay, so they're on a stage. Picture that. And may I point out, still, there's really no evidence of a crime except for Fred telling Shaggy to steal the $20. I mean, sure, some stage stuff fell over, but they still haven't actually seen the villain except for Scooby. But he's not really a reliable witness in court because he's a dog. Anyway, I'm just calling it like I see it. That's the problem with our court system. Although someone on the Is This Adulting Facebook page posted a really cute video from Judge Judy having a dog be a witness in a trial about like who's the real owner of this dog, and like Judge Judy had them put the dog down and the dog ran over to his dad, and Judge Judy was like, it's your dog.
God. So they pulled an Air Bud and they oh no, that's the saddest and happiest thing I've ever heard simultaneously. Do you have any clue what I mean when I say pulled an Air Bud?
I know the movie, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah, that happens at the end where it's just like, he's my dog. No, he's my dog. And so, like, they're both, like, calling him, trying to get him to, like, yeah, it's really depressing.
In my generation, we call that a Sandy moment. Do you know what I'm talking about from Annie?
Oh, I'm with you. Okay. I was like, Sandy. I was sitting there, like, tell me more, tell me more. Like,
oh. Okay, anyway, so now the weird purple dude is laughing evilly while Fred calls Velma and Daphne to come see something. And Velma sees the villain! And so now all the kids are together, and Fred wants to follow the path of the weird dude.
Now,
so tell me. Yes.
Okay, Velma sees the villain.
Yes.
In the thing.
Like,
I can't remember what it's called.
I don't remember what it's called either. It's like a little window into like the orchestra pit, I guess, but there's no glass. It's just like I don't know, it looks like a place where someone can stand half up and half down on a stage.
A place for like somebody to like help give cues if something is going wrong in like old style theater. But I'm not sure. And my wife, who is a theater teacher, is probably going to kill me for not knowing it. So it's been nice doing this podcast. But Velma, we're going to call it the Schnoodle Box because I can't remember what it's called.
That's accurate. Yeah.
And so Velma goes, he's in the Schnoodle Box. And then literally 2 seconds later, Fred walks up and goes, oh, he's in the Schnoodle Box. I'm like, all right, Velma just said that.
Fred,
like,
oh my god.
Stealing thunder or trying to make it sound like you figured it out. Velma literally told everyone. And then like Daphne gave Fred a look of just kind of like, yeah, we've been over this. We got that.
That's just typical. The patriarchy.
Come on, Fred.
Okay, so all the kids are together. Daphne bribes Scooby with a Scooby snack, and he goes down to see what's in there, and it's just tons of violin cases, which, again, still makes sense. Orchestra pit. They all go down to check them out, and they're empty. Still no crime, everybody. So all the kids hear a creepy organ being played on the stage, and it's like, in my notes, it's like a fake version of Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, there you go. See, you're with me.
I'm with you. They see the dude playing the organ, and then he disappears. And now a life-size Viking appears and yells something inaudible.
Confused.
Yep. And then he raises into the air. So now, because we know this is something about puppets, we are starting to get the sense that maybe, again, nothing is as it seems, and one of these might just be a puppet. Velma embraces Shaggy out of fear and says, I don't like looking for clues anymore, which I felt real sad for her. Like, she should be allowed to leave this spooky place if she likes. Because normally it's just Shaggy who wants to leave. Okay, now a pirate appears. And then a sexy dog. And then, the poodle. And then, it's not a different sexy dog. And there's only 2 sexy dogs in this episode. Anyway, I should stop talking.
In the world.
Right. And Scooby, and who's the other one?
Apparently this poodle.
Okay, I didn't know if there was some other dog out there that you think is pretty hot and that you were joining my club of weirdos. Okay.
No, I will never do that.
Okay, so this is where it gets crazy. So Scooby goes and like sniffs around the poodle, and he comes back, and it looks like she's just dead in his snout mouth, but it's a puppet, and it's like all limp. And what's that sticking out of the puppet stuffing? It's a front engraving plate for a $20 bill.
I thought it was a chocolate bar when I first saw it. I was like, that seems like a weird place to put that.
So just to sum up for everyone who's lost track of this after the Viking, the counterfeiters apparently used the hot poodle to store the engraving plates, but like also didn't sew it up very well. So the most precious part of their counterfeiting operation was stuck inside this stuffed dog. All right, so Fred says, let's go wake up that doorman and tell him what's going on. So like the very first time that these kids ever actually go to an adult for help, and this is how they decide to do it. All right. It's really hard to wake him up. And Steven, if you want to just take a break while I tell this part, I totally get it if you want to leave the room.
Yep, gonna need to.
Okay, so it's really hard to wake him up. His eyes are open. So I'm thinking, oh no, this guy died. Like, he was really old and kind of decrepit looking. But then his head falls off. He was a puppet too.
And I died inside.
Shaggy tries to leave, just like Steven wanted to, but they're all locked in. And then a bird puppet comes down and takes the counterfeiting plate and like flies away. Fred says, let's all go back to the violin case room. But he says it like super loud. Like, come on, if you're going to hide from a creepy dude in a theater, don't shout where you're going. And the reason he wants to go back down there is to look for more clues, not so that they can escape. In fact, that's probably the hardest part of the theater to escape from, I'm guessing. So they're back down there, and they open a harp case and find a secret room, because Fred is super good. I will give him that. Fred is probably the best of all the kids at finding secret rooms.
I mean, usually accidentally, but yes.
Or Daphne being thrown into them accidentally. But
right.
Yeah, Fred, yeah. Okay, so inside there is their jackpot. It's a printing press and new $20 bills. But we hear laughing again and the dude in the cloak. And we don't know, is he real? Is he a puppet? Is he the actual villain? Maybe the dog was the puppeteer the whole time.
Oh my God.
Right? Okay, so they run into a different room and they all get locked in. And there's a voice that's really hard to hear. And now they're in a tunnel. And so they follow this tunnel because, there's a tunnel.
Well,
and they go
I mean, have you ever been like backstage, like at a large, like large scale opera theater?
Yeah, I have at Clues Hall in Indianapolis. That's true.
Okay, I was gonna say because like the Stevens Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Like I was in an opera. Yeah, that's a story. I was in an opera when I was like 11, and there's like tunnels underneath.
Can you break me off a little bit of that?
Sure. I was in the North
No,
Carolina.
I want a sample of the singing.
Oh, no. See, because my voice hadn't changed yet. And so I don't think I could go that high because I was an angel and a gingerbread child in Hansel and Gretel. And I had to wear this very Austin Powers-esque wig
oh my gosh,
at one
that is
point.
amazing.
But no, yeah, I'm not going to break you off a piece of that because it was children's singing, which is, as everyone knows, the worst
the
sound
creepiest.
in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything else creepy to be added to this recording session. So,
okay, fair. Well, the kids find a ladder and they go up, even though it's like really, really dark there. And they end up on a roof. Can they escape? No, they're on the stage of the theater again. And the Viking is back. But Velma is very rational. She says, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a puppet. So let's hope that's true. Fred says, let's find the puppet master. Which, that could have been the title of this episode, by the way. It's pretty scary. So Scooby's walking around and he starts loosening some of the ropes and pulleys so that he can like get up high and see what's all the way up there.
He's being so brave.
So brave, especially since his center of gravity is not made to be walking on scaffolding. But that's what he does. And he starts chasing around the bad guy on the scaffolding. But then the bad guy gets trapped in a drum. I've got that in my notes, but I don't actually remember how that happened.
Literally, like, he falls down, lands in a drum, somebody stuffs a tube on his head, and their trap worked for the first time in the series. Like, it actually worked 100%.
Is that how Phantom of the Opera ends?
I mean,
it's been a while.
I'm trying to remember. No, never mind.
Okay.
I couldn't come up with a joke. All I could think about was how good that scene is where he like smashes the mirror and walks away, and that's just the ending, and it's beautifully tragic, even though he's a villain and you shouldn't love him, just like this guy.
Yeah, so almost 100% the same as this episode,
Right.
but a couple little, very minor differences, but pretty much exactly the exact same thing. All right, so we cut to a new scene with the kids talking to a police officer who's congratulating them. And the police are in a car, and the bad guy is like in the back seat of the car, and it's a dude that looks like the doorman.
It is the doorman.
It is the doorman. But, I mean, the reason I said looks like that was I didn't know if maybe the whole time the doorman had been a puppet. But I think, no, he just made a big puppet of himself.
Which is terrifying. That's like Buffalo
Yeah.
Bill stuff from like Silence of the Lambs. Like, that's terrifying.
That is terrifying. Velma says he gave himself away when he put on his puppet show. What? I mean, I guess I don't know how that's true, Velma, but okay, maybe.
But he is the angriest looking villain that we have
he's
ever
furious.
seen at the end of this show, which brings me to my point of, so he's sitting in the back of this car. He is just livid. And yet we still don't get the meddling
The
kids
line. I know. I keep waiting and waiting.
I think I've posed this question before, but I'm going to do it again. Did that line ever exist? Are we all living in the Matrix, Berenstain Bears scenario? Like, did we all think that meddling kids was a thing, and then we just decided to call our podcast that, not knowing that in this weird actual reality where the robots have taken over, that never existed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a Jungian shared consciousness. It's like the mandala. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. That remains to be seen. We're going to have to go through the entire series to find out. So stay tuned, kids. But,
all the series.
All of them. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I'm still wondering, did they actually ever catch the guy? Or is this another puppet in the back seat of the car? Is he on the loose? Is he in your closet right
you're just
now,
like
Steven?
Kaiser Sose.
Who's that behind you?
Don't do that. There is a puppet in my closet.
I know.
There's an actual puppet in my closet, and it's so scary. And it's just like my wife sometimes sits it up so that it's like sitting up when I go in there to
She's
like
amazing.
change. No, she's so mean because it's so scary.
Well, here's something not scary. Shaggy notices that Scooby's been hanging out with all the costume stuff, and he comes out all dressed up in a top hat, cape, bow tie, and dickie, and he looks so cute. He looks really fancy. And by the way, the outfit that he's wearing appears in our next episode.
Really?
Not on Scooby. Yeah. He looks amazing, and I hope he actually gets the girl in some future episode. Although, I got to point out, we don't actually know if that other dog was female or male. Scooby's sexuality is up for debate because, no genitals in cartoons. These ones.
I mean, I would hope in most cartoons, unless it's like the Little Mermaid cover from the 90s.
What?
Or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Disney is real good at sneaking that creep in there. Like, or like when Simba like settles down and the dust like floats up in the air and spells sex.
Okay, I'm going to do some Googling after this.
Oh, Google just like Disney and like weird, creepy, like inappropriate things in their animated films. Like, it's everywhere. It's in The Rescuers. It's everywhere. In The Rescuers, when they're in the little like water sewer thing and they're flying by all these windows, one of the windows has a naked lady in it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I got to see that.
This is real life. I think they probably like nowadays it's
Real
been like
life.
digitally removed
Oh.
now that people have found it. But like, no, it's all there, and it's not good.
Well, we have a meddling question from an actual listener from Scooby Addict. And she wants to know, do you guys actually like Scooby-Doo? Because she started listening to our show and was like, it's about Scooby-Doo, but I think her sense was they're just kind of making fun of it. I can't really tell if we're fans or not.
Which I will say, we are just making fun of it, but in the most like loving and affectionate way. So like I love the movie Space Jam.
Oh, yeah.
With Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes. Love it. Watched it recently. Spent most of the time making fun of it because I realize now as an adult, just how garbage that movie is. It's not
good garbage.
Good, but I love it so much that like I make fun of it affectionately because it's such a part of my childhood that I like hold on to. And I feel the same way about Scooby. Like as a kid, didn't realize how ridiculous the plots were. Didn't realize literally every episode is basically the same thing. Just never had that thought. And so like now watching them back, I'm like, oh, I mean, I could have written these. Like these aren't as great as maybe I thought they are, but I still have such a place of affection and love for them that when I tease affectionately. It's like when I have told Julie in the past, like, oh, you're the worst. I don't mean it. You're really not the worst. You're actually the best. But if I don't tease somebody, it probably means I don't like them.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I have such a strong relationship with the Scooby-Doo show. So when I was a kid, it may be from where I lived in Indiana or just the time period, we had 3 channels, right, before cable. And very rarely would there be kids programming. I mean, Saturday morning was like the one time you could find kid shows on. And so that was a big deal. And which meant I watched a lot of garbage because whatever that was on that was animated, I would sit down and watch because that was my only chance, that like one time a week. So no matter what was on there. So when something amazing came on, like Scooby-Doo or the Jetsons, I would freak out. I mean, that was Flintstones, yes. But Scooby-Doo is always the top. I mean, that was the one that I was always hoping would be on. And so, later we did get cable and, joined this century. But just as a kid, it was so amazing. And I always loved it. It was always entertaining, and probably because each episode is very similar, you could pick up in the middle of it and follow along. There wasn't like, oh, I missed the first 5 minutes, I have no idea what's going on. Even if you watch the whole thing, you still sometimes have no idea what's going on, as evidenced by us needing copious amounts of notes in order to retell it to y'all. But then once I had kids and started showing them the Scooby-Doos, it was especially amazing because it just brought back all those great feelings. Plus, watching the kids enjoy them has just been really amazing. So it's a show I love. I will always love it. Am I going to make fun of it? Absolutely, because it's bonkers. And also, I think it's fair of us to point out some of the anachronistic stuff, and especially some of the bigotry and racism that's in there. We got to call it like we see it. Of course, we're looking at it through a modern lens. And, we still want to enjoy it, but we don't want to enjoy it and say, well, just because it's old, it's okay to, use stereotypical portrayals of Native Americans. Like, it's not okay, but we can still enjoy the show, but we still got to call out those elements when we see them. We don't just want to give them a pass. Is that fair?
Yes.
Perfect. Excellent. So, yeah, that's fair. Anyway, thanks so much for the question, Scooby Addict. If you have a meddling question or just want to let us know what you love about Scoob or ask us questions about random other stuff like why is that marionette still in Steven's closet, you can email us at meddlingkidspod@gmail.com. You can tweet on us at meddlingkidspod or join us on Facebook.
Yeah, we want to say thanks so much for joining us for the Meddling Kids podcast. We also want to say thanks to Dave Seste for the use of the theme song Night Surfing.
Yes, I love that song. Be sure to check out our other shows Steven and Chris do. Is This Adulting, where they talk about mental health and also lots of funny, amazing stuff going on in our world. And also, once in a while, they'll have a serious episode where they talk about some of the serious stuff, like the recent episode after Charlottesville, which was really meaningful and just a great contribution. Also, my brother Mark and I do the Station Wagon podcast, where we take a close look at the things in life we take for granted and give you the science and history of it. And we will be back next time to fully break Steven with episode 10, Bedlam in the Big Top.
I don't want it.
It's going to be great. In the meantime, please rate us and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get podcasts. And we actually have 2 reviews to read this week. First, let me make it big so I can actually see it. Okay, from Sunliz, she wrote, "Yay, Scooby! Like, who doesn't love Scooby-Doo? It's like chatting with your friends on Monday morning after Saturday morning cartoons," which I thought was really sweet. No. And then we also got Scooby Dooby Coo from The Final Pam. And
The Final Pam?
It's the last one. It's the last Pam.
No, do you think it's the actual? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it is the actual final Pam that was created on the McElroy brothers show Monster Factory?
You lost me. I mean, you didn't lose me audio-wise. I just mean I've never actually watched Monster Factory.
Oh, it's amazing. They created a character called the Final Pam, and she destroys the world. Oh.
Whoa.
Oh, God, I hope it's not actually her. I mean, she was cool. No, I love you. You're great. Please don't hurt me.
Don't destroy us. I don't think she's going to destroy our show because she wrote, "What a wonderful show. Great, easy listening with a fondness for what they're covering. Highly recommended. Thank you, Pam. We respect your powers. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. So, use your destructive genius well."
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam. I think that's it. That's all we got for today.
I was going to say, with that, I think that's going to do it for us here this week on the Meddling Kids podcast. And as always, look, I've been really busy this week. Like, really, really, really stupid busy. So, I have not been watching. I have not been keeping tabs on everybody. So, I don't know what you did this week. You could have done anything. But you would have gotten away with it if it weren't for us Meddling Kids.
Have a fangorious day.
Ooh. It's very vampiric.
Yeah, thanks. Arr.